And welcome to the Midday Show. I'm Jeff Everett. He is Mark Messina. We got some election news for you, including a really close race in our coverage area. We also want to talk about Virginia, the governor's race. A lot of interesting ways to go with that one. The Atlanta Braves are your World Series champions. The first snow in North Central PA. Before we get to all of that, I'm not going to make fun of you today. I'm not going to pick on you. But how are you feeling?
Because you can tell that I'm annoyed.
I can tell.
Because now we get bumped for a yoga video.
Listen, I love yoga. You don't like yoga?
Like, hey, I know you guys are about to go on, but we need to film this yoga video. And for some reason, people say we're too loud. I don't understand why that is.
We are definitely too loud.
So basically what happened here is people just barged in and said, would you guys shut up for 20 minutes and just sit here silently? And that's what we did.
Yes.
Because, what are we, chopped liver?
Listen, it's not a dictatorship here at NorthcentralPa.com.
Has anyone ever had chopped liver? Have you?
I've not. However, I have family members that really like liver and onions.
I don't think I've ever seen chopped liver. Is chopped liver and liver the same thing, or is it?
I would assume it's just cut up differently.
Because that is the cliche that it, or the.
Have you ever had liver?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
I can't. I've heard of liver and onions. That is the dish.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever had it.
Okay.
I don't. As people make fun of me, I do not have a very elaborate palate, if you will.
Is liver the organ that can grow back? We have one organ that can grow back.
I think so.
It's your liver, right?
Yes, and starfish arms.
And starfish arms? Yes, starfish arms. That's true. But we don't have starfish arms.
No.
But we have liver.
Most of us.
The other crazy part about your liver is, like, let's say they take X amount of your liver and you donate it to somebody. Inside, your insides, they conform to the empty space now. So, like, your intestines and everything, they just kind of, like, fill the space. And then your liver grows back, like, around it. So it's not like they just take out a piece of your liver. Yeah. So, like, when you get, like, when they go inside or x-ray or whatever, like, you only, like, when they see it, it looks different than everybody else's because your body has kind of, like, filled the empty void. Yeah, pretty crazy.
You know what we did to help fill the empty void?
What?
Yoga.
We did. I love you. I'm not making, you're going to try to get me to say something bad about yoga. And I'm telling you right now, I am not going to do it.
I understand the value of yoga. I don't think it outranks the Midday Show. That's all I'm saying.
It's pretty close. I love the Midday Show. I love some yoga.
Has yoga ever almost won an Emmy?
It probably has not. But the Midday Show has almost won an Emmy. NorthcentralPa.com, you can go there to see the full story. The race for mayor of Milton in Northumberland County was decided by one vote. They will do like a hand recount, but as of right now, the official count is one vote. Your initial thoughts?
Welcome to Mooseport. That is the first thing I thought when I saw that.
The 10-second synopsis in case no one's ever seen Mooseport.
First of all, it was Gene Hackman's last movie. Gene Hackman was running against Ray Romano. Was it Mooseport, Maine?
Before you keep going, I love that when I say 10 seconds and the first thing you say is, well, first of all, like this clearly is not going to be 10 seconds.
That is a good point.
Go ahead.
So do you think I just ignored your parameters, or I just thought for a second I could get in multiple points in 10 seconds?
You just ignored it.
Ray Romano ran against Gene Hackman.
Yes.
And Hackman won by a vote, didn't he?
I forget. I haven't seen
Ray Romano voted for Hackman.
Yes.
He voted for his opponent and lost by a vote.
Yes. So if you've never seen Mooseport, you can check it out. But they lived almost a pseudo real life Mooseport last night in Milton,
I think it was
PA.
in Maine. Wasn't it? Mooseport, Maine?
Yes, Mooseport, Maine, I think.
Yeah, so that's what happened. One vote in Milton. When they say every vote counts, and we're always like, it's a good slogan, but really, did your vote really count? In Milton, it did.
In Milton, PA, it did. According to unofficial election returns, the Democrat Tom Aber, I hope I'm saying that right, beat out his opponent, Republican Joe Morales, by a single vote. Aber had received 595 votes to Morales's 594.
What's really funny about this, and we talked about this yesterday, because it was, I don't say an offbeat election. There's, the presidential years, then there's the midterm elections, and then there's other ones.
Okay.
This was not even a midterm election. This was another one.
Yes.
And I almost forgot. And it was like the middle of the day. We were here, and I don't know.
Well, that was a big day for
we
you.
talked about it. Yes, it was. 50th birthday. And we said I was thinking like on the way home and this and that, I'll just stop in and vote, because the beauty of living in, the middle of, Pennsylvania,
Sure.
we just walk in and vote.
Yes.
The longest line I've ever been in is like 3 people. So I had gone home. I was heading over to open gym. We had open gym last night. And my mom started telling me about someone she saw at the election. Because, in small town, you walk in, you see
Sure.
people. And I was like, oh, my God, I forgot to vote. So I went out now and I got in and voted, and everything was good. But if I would have forgotten and gone to open gym, the polls would have closed by the time, and I wouldn't have got to vote. Now, how much does that matter? It doesn't, unless you're in Milton. And then how many people like me either forgot or got tied up and then went to dinner or something, or their kid had something, and then we're just, whatever.
Yeah.
It's not really a big election year. There's no House of Representatives. There's no president. There's no.
Yeah. Well, I had told you, I'm registered in Tioga County. And I had told you there are ones where I will drive up and I will get it done and I'll make sure it happens. But yesterday, I went through the results, and my vote, in a weird way, my vote would not have made a difference yesterday.
Blowout Central.
So it does, sometimes it does make a difference. Sometimes it does not. In Milton, though, it is the literal definition of every single vote count.
It will be funny to see the next election in Milton, what the voter turnout is.
If it's boosted because
because people are like, oh my gosh, my vote did matter.
It would have made the difference. And they seem to be pretty cordial here. In the article, they said they're going to work together. They said they had fun during the campaign. They laughed together. They talked to people together. So it sounds like the Democratic and Republican candidates are not necessarily, there's no hostility. It's not
what fun is that?
Nah. So they are. There will
I don't like that.
There will be a recount, a hand-done recount, just to kind of verify it and make sure. But as of right now, both candidates are kind of accepting the result and saying, this is a perfect example of why you should show up.
I want rivalry. I want bad blood.
You want pageantry.
I hate when the MMA fights. I like in normal sports when the game's over and the guys shake hands and I'm good with that. In MMA fights, when it is over, you should not go hug the guy and be his friend. You tried to kill him for 25 minutes.
Which is fine. To wrap up this one, Morales said in a Facebook statement, after losing by 1 vote, I don't think it could be more clear, but I must say that everyone's vote matters. Sometime this week, they will recount by hand. As we await those results, I am humbled by the support of friends and family. So again,
and I am pissed at the lack of support of those 2 friends who didn't bother to go vote.
Can you imagine? Because a town like Milton, can you imagine? He must. How many people do you think are lying to him today, saying they showed up to vote?
Well, that's a thing, because you don't know your ballot is secret.
Correct.
But it is. You have to sign in.
But he must be, this is the point I'm making, he must be walking around today. And he must be walking up to some people
who didn't vote at all.
Who didn't vote at all. And what I'm saying is some of those people do not have the heart to tell him.
Oh, they're lying through their teeth. But somewhere is a rule, and someone knows. Because the place I was at, and there were kids there. Do they have students up in Tioga County? We had high school students who were helping at the polls.
Okay.
And they weren't the sign-in people, but they were doing stuff.
Yeah.
And there's people that I don't know what you're sworn to secrecy on, but there could be people no, I never saw him. He didn't vote. He wasn't there. He never showed up.
Well,
and people in Blossburg who'd be no, Jeff didn't vote. I'm at his precinct. I worked there all day. Because I said to the kids, because the polls are open from 7 to 8.
Okay. And
I said to the one kid, have you been here since 7? He's like, I've been here since 6. And it was 5:30 or whatever. So there has to be, as time comes on, people who are telling the dude, no, I voted. There's going to be people no, you didn't. I was there all day.
It would be interesting to have him on because I would ask him basic questions the day after you lose by a vote. Every single person you walk by, are you just going they probably voted, He probably
you have to be.
Like
you have to be. I
right?
wonder if you voted. He's kind of lazy. He's kind of a derelict.
Right.
Like I know
he ignored my text yesterday.
Yes.
He probably didn't show.
Yes, I know.
It's curious.
Like I know on election day, it's new. Unless you're like living under a rock, it's hard to not know. Right. But like I just got a text from someone because again, if you missed the show yesterday was my birthday, and I just got a text from someone today who said, "Hey, happy belated birthday. In my defense, I thought yesterday was the first."
Okay.
So if you get people that are like, no, it's not, how you get maybe did Halloween screw people up and they're like, no, it's not Tuesday. Today's only Monday. Tomorrow, who knows? Right. There have to be multiple people right now in Milton that are just like, please don't ask me because I know I'm not a good enough liar.
Yeah, I mean, it's very, very possible. Interesting. So again, you can find the story at NorthcentralPa.com. The race for mayor of Milton in Northumberland County was decided by just one vote.
That would be a fun little fundraiser for whatever the Lions Club of Milton. They should get 10 people and line them up like an interrogation. You know how they do that, like a criminal lineup.
Okay.
They should line the people up, and they should have the mayor that loses get to go up to them and say, "Did you vote?" Because some people are such bad liars, you know what I'm talking about? That
Sure.
They just can't pretend. They'd be like, yeah, I voted.
Yeah.
And which ones are truthful and which ones are lying through it? Because they're all going to say they voted.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. So interesting story. You can check it out. The other interesting, like the big story that's kind of stealing the election night news, Virginia flipped. They now have a Republican governor. Glenn Youngkin won last night. It's being reported that he won. The AP is officially coming out and saying that like Glenn Youngkin will be the governor of Virginia. Because I know there's some stuff going on social media, like the election hasn't been called, we're not sure yet, all that stuff. The AP is now reporting it's a done deal. A lot of different things to go with this. You and I have talked a lot about, elections and how they swing. We've talked a lot about like Joe Biden and this presidency and what does that mean for the upcoming elections. And I don't want to say, I think red wave is like overplayed. Like I think that's
because they had the blue wave last time.
Right. So I think like this, the blue wave, the red wave, like the whole, I don't want to go down this thing of like the wave.
However, do you know who the green wave is?
No, who's the green wave?
Tulane.
It's not the Tulane University.
I think aren't they the green
I wonder
wave?
What are they going to call the forward wave?
The next party?
The forward party. I wonder what their wave will be called.
Anyway.
But there is, Virginia very clearly flipped. I had said to you there was a infographic on a couple of outlets that showed over 100 districts in Virginia had essentially flipped from blue to red from the presidential election to now the governor election. I think Youngkin's a really interesting character. I think he's worth kind of diving into. We're not specialists on Youngkin, but the very basic facts about him, he is unique in the political atmosphere right now for people who are elected and are going to be running. So I don't know. When I was reading some of the stuff off to you, did you kind of have I'm not surprised. Are you surprised?
No. Because this happens all the time.
Yes.
When a president wins, that nothing brings out voters like anger.
Sure.
And if your party lost, then midterm elections, the other party always does better. I heard some stat. We talked about a stat. You said George Takei put one up. Yeah. I had heard a stat, something along the lines of since World War II, the Virginia governors don't win back to back, or it's only happened once.
So 8 times
there's a lot of flip flopping of Virginia governors back and forth. And Virginia is that's where DC is. I know DC is basically between Maryland and Virginia, but it's Virginia.
So the stat that I had read to you was this is the eighth time in a row that after a president was elected, the governor has flipped in Virginia. So it's not uncommon that this has happened in the state of Virginia where you get one party in the presidential office and then Virginia's governor office flips and goes the other direction. And then you said, I believe you said something since the Civil War. The governor has
he's only won re-election once or something.
So there's some I don't want to call them wonky stats, but I guess there is some normalcy to what happened in Virginia.
But when you think about Virginia, we talked about this yesterday, I think. There are a couple states, like New Jersey had their governor's race yesterday too, I'm pretty sure. There are a couple. One, I would wonder, do they get better election turnout or do they get worse election turnout because it's on such an off year? But Virginia always votes for their governor the year after there was a presidential election.
Right.
So maybe that's why they swing so much, because the animosity is still so fresh.
Sure. No, it's very, very true. It was, again, I don't want, it's not even about staying away from the red wave talk, but there was even Republicans, like they won in Virginia, they won in Pennsylvania, Long Island, they were dominant. I believe they almost won in New Jersey. I have not looked at the numbers since last night, but they almost won in New Jersey as well. You and I have talked a lot, and I've said, like, I just look at the first year, and I've said to you, like, I really, really think Republicans have an opportunity. I don't know if they're going to jump on it. I don't know. I'm excited as a registered Republican because like I said to you, even though I voted, I would say if I went through my ballot last year, I was probably like 60 blue, 40 red. Like if I actually went down through and like would have kept track. As a registered Republican, I had said I felt like if we got the right people out and we started putting the right people in, I felt there was a real opportunity for us kind of moving into 2024, 2028, 2032. So I don't want to call it a red wave, but I am like, some of the stuff that I was hoping for is sort of coming into fruition. Like I said, I don't want to get into like we don't have to get too much into like a left-right debate, but like I am not shocked at all at what happened last night.
Yeah, I don't think I would be either. I think one of the things, as the political science historians, would be fun to talk about this. Whenever any party is out of office, they're just so desperate to get back into office. And, we discussed, I think society had discussed, and I've said this multiple times, I still can't believe that Joe Biden is the person who was the Democratic nominee.
Right.
And when you have these discussions with people and they talk about the election fraud and all this stuff, and they're like, there's no way that how 90 million people voted for Joe Biden. And I always tell people 90 million people didn't vote for Joe Biden. They voted against Trump. And that's what I think the Democratic side had seen. The Democratic side was so angry at Trump that basically whoever they put up there did not have to be a great candidate.
Sure.
You see by Biden's approval ratings. And it's not, I don't think now COVID, I think Trump's handling of COVID hurt him. Saying things like by Easter we'll be all back in church, and he tried to downplay it because it was an election year.
Sure.
I think the stimulus checks, what it's done to the economy, and the mandates have really, really hurt Biden. And so because of all that, because of all the encompassing things, I'm not surprised what happened yesterday. And I'm wondering, is there a long-term damaging effect? Because after Jimmy Carter, the Republicans won for 12 straight years.
Yeah.
And I know Reagan was beloved, and it was a good time for America.
Sure.
So it's not surprising that Reagan's vice president then went on to win one.
Right.
But when you go back through history, all the way back 60 years, it's the only time that one party has held it for more than 8 years. The president goes back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, except right. So is it because Reagan was so successful,
right,
or is it because Carter was so bad?
Right.
And is Biden going to be that? And that's
right.
What's going to be interesting to see, to me, how it plays out.
No, I agree with you. Youngkin, which we had talked about a little bit before the show. For those of you who don't know who he is, first of all, it's you shouldn't know who he is. Like until about 2 months ago, nobody really knew who he was, especially like in the political sphere.
Let me jump in. How old is he?
I do not know how old he is.
Okay.
He's old enough that his hair is completely gray and he looks like he's been in politics for 40 years. Is that a fair answer?
Oh, okay. I thought he might be younger.
When you consider who our last two presidents have been and like what our House and Senate looks like, he looks the part.
He looks.
Is that fair enough?
Okay.
Okay. So I don't know exactly how old he is. He was a former basketball player at Rice. He got into money. I believe he was a part of a private equity
usually
firm.
that sense of like he got into drugs.
No,
he got into trouble. He got into legal trouble. And you're like, he got into money.
He got into money. Like he got in, I believe it was like with a private equity firm. Like they were one of the best in the world. And he made a lot of money.
He got into money.
He's a multimillionaire over and over again. This is the neat part about Youngkin. And I say neat because like, there's not a lot of people like him right now.
Unique. It's private.
Yeah. But to me, like, I'm kind of fascinated by it. So to me, it is neat. Like, I want to see what happens with this. And it's not even that I agree with him. He is a Republican who is like, he is a staunch conservative. He has been in the church for a long time. He believes a lot of the things that are conservative values, but they're even more like staunch, right?
Right.
However, he is also anti-Trump. And not only is he like not a Trump supporter, his entire staff, the people that he has put around him, there has been frustrations from Trump and his staff that they could not break in or reach out or kind of have a say in Youngkin's campaign. And so just that juxtaposition of like a staunch conservative that I feel like most liberals would vehemently disagree with, but he's also anti-Trump and also doesn't surround himself with people who are pro-Trump. To me, to have somebody, if he was already in, that would be fascinating. To then win an election right now in this climate, I am absolutely fascinated to see kind of where it goes.
Well, I was going to say, now back to the political science historians. What does this mean to, is he, because the Trump and the Republican Party in 2024 is very interesting. Mm-hmm. Trump just lost in 2020. Do you bring him back? But he is still clearly the biggest player in the Republican Party. At least that's the way it seems. Now that Youngkin has won without riding Trump's coattails,
right?
Does it now show the Republican Party that Biden's lack of success, or his apparent lack of success, because it's all opinion-based, but his approval rating is what it is. Do you not need to ride Trump's coattails? Do you just need to be a Republican? And will that be good enough? Because this guy just proved that that just being a Republican is good enough.
And he, I don't know if you've seen his campaign at all.
I haven't seen it. I didn't know who he was till yesterday.
Right. And most people don't. He ran on, a lot of his campaign was based around school. It was based around education. Critical race theory kind of played a part in it, but that wasn't like the full campaign. But the point I'm making is like, he is not a liberal's dream. However, if you're a liberal and you are not feeling the Biden administration, or you're not thrilled with what's happening, like, is being anti-Trump enough for you? And maybe it is. Like, was it enough? If you were a liberal in Virginia, and was it enough for Youngkin to just be like, hey, not only do I not support Trump, I don't have a single person on my staff that supports Trump. And was that the most important thing on his agenda?
I think this guy's win helps the Democratic Party in 2024.
Interesting.
Because one of the crazy things about any election is these people that are all trying to get the nominee, they beat each other up until they get far enough along. Like, Kamala didn't say good things about Joe Biden while they were debating, until she drops out. Then he needs a vice president. He picks the vice president that he thinks will help him most.
Right.
He picks a minority female.
Yeah.
And
you know who's been really, and I don't, not to.
So anyway, so back to the other point, when going to 2024, the Republican trying to get the ticket is going to be the Trump people and the anti-Trump people. And the anti-Trump people are going to be like, Trump lost last time. We don't want to send him up there to lose again. And so then one of them gets the nominee, and Trump's base is so fervent, are they going to not vote for if Trump doesn't get the nomination? And the other people who are believing that, like, listen, Trump lost before, we don't want to risk him losing again, will they then not go to the polls and support him if he doesn't get a win?
Maybe. I have a hard time seeing how this was a positive for the Democrats. I mean, maybe it's a wash because, like, 2.5 years from now, who the hell's Youngkin? Like, who, you know what I mean?
Maybe.
Like, maybe just no one even remembers that this happened in Virginia 2.5 years.
Does it bring more Republicans along? That do Republicans now say, I can talk against Trump, or not even, maybe not against, I don't have to be in support of Trump and I can win? Does it help now in the Senate and in Congress? Do they come out and say, you know, does it change what they say about January 6th?
Yeah, I think I think for someone naive like me, like a young Republican and people that I'm around, I think if you're a younger Republican, I don't think that's a bad thing for Republicans. Like, I think, like, Youngkin winning again, I don't even think Youngkin's that great, but Youngkin winning as a non-Trump supporter is like a dream come true for me, like, as a young Republican. And I've said before, like, I think some of the Trump stuff is overblown. I think, like, the way the media,
everything's kind of overblown.
The way the media just, like, crushes Trump and crushes Biden, and it's just, like, over, and it's just like you can't breathe without, like, it meaning something or swaying your whole presidency. I just don't see how it's a negative for it. It can't be a negative for the Republicans that Youngkin won. It can't be. And thus, if it's not,
because the Republicans won.
And if it's not a negative, then I don't see how I'm struggling to see the positivity for a Democrat over it.
In this isolated election, it is not a positive for the Democrats. The Democrats certainly would have rather won. But I'm wondering if 3 years from now, if he's still the exception, and then it's not that big of a deal. But if now throughout the country there are other Republicans who think January 6th was bad, who think, you know, that they're willing to run and aren't afraid to stand up and say what they believe and say times that they disagreed with the former president. You know, if you've got 20 of these people, the more people show up, the more it becomes that Trump loses his stranglehold over the party.
I think I probably take a little bit lesser viewpoint of what you're saying, because to me, I took this election, like, the more I read about it and the more I saw this, to me, like, if you were a Democrat and you just thought every Republican is just like Trump, and if you're a Democrat and you just thought, like, the right side is just so entrenched in it, to me, Virginia showed, like, that is not the case. Like, to me, it showed, like, there is a strong base in the Republican Party that, like, when you're in the thick of it, and it's like, and if you're, like, diehard Republican, like, you're going to vote for Trump, and it is what it is. But there is a huge faction in the Republican Party that it is not about Trump. There are a lot of policies and there's a lot of conservative views that they have, for better and for worse. Like, whether you agree or disagree with, like, a staunch conservative, there is a base in that party that it is not just about Trump. There are bigger things at play.
And I agree with that. And in general, again,
but we should
talk to Jason Fitzgerald.
We should. He would be really good. But see, do you think most Democrats think that? Because I think the majority of Democrats or liberals that I speak to, it's not even that they have, like, a false conception of it, but to them, it's just like, oh, that Republican, they must just Trump. And it's like, well, no, like it's okay, like, calm down.
That's the way I feel. Like, I just in the election of 2020, I think the Democrats were like, we are going to vote for whoever is not Trump.
Yeah.
And in this example, it showed they didn't really care if Youngkin supported Trump, was against Trump, was neutral with Trump, whatever,
Right.
that they were going to vote for whoever wasn't Democrat.
Yes.
And that's where I think,
But
so if that goes other places, then it could change it could change the outlook.
The irony, to wrap it up, is like you and I talk about how like we're closer together. Show me the Republican that would always vote for Trump and tell me the difference between the Democrat who would vote for anybody but Trump.
Oh, they're the same person.
And they're the same. And so when you and I have these conversations and we talk about it, like I smile and laugh, not necessarily because it's funny, but because like everybody's so much closer than they realize.
It is funny.
And that's what I took from the Virginia election last
What
night.
else is funny is when we started this, we're like, we're not going to talk about politics because people get too mad and angry, and we're just going to have fun and talk about fun news like votes.
Okay. Who had November 3rd in their first snow in North Central PA pool? Did you?
How much did you? You said Bradford County. I did not have November 3rd.
Bradford County had a
It was today. It wasn't yesterday.
I believe it was this morning.
It was this morning. Okay.
Yes. They had a dusting. So if you had a pool of when the first snowfall was going to be, today is the day. You and I talked about this a lot, like during the seasons. I'm 34. I said to you, I think I've had more green Christmases than white.
Oh, by far. And you grew up in Tioga County, so you're up north. And to us, Tioga County is like Canada. Almost Arctic.
It's Canada.
It is. It is cold. Yeah. So, no, I remember. It is crazy, and I know your memories kind of. They've talked about this. The big ones play such a bigger part than you remember. But yeah. I remember lots of non-white Christmases when I was a kid. I'm sure. But I also remember when we were playing high school football playoffs. That one day we had so much snow, they plowed half of the football field, and we practiced football sideways on the football field because they didn't want to plow the whole field.
Right.
And back then we didn't have turf, so it would have messed up.
Sure.
But so this would have been late November. Maybe we played, our last game was December 9th. So it was before December 9th. Oh. And now, how many years do we get to Christmas and we haven't even had snow?
Oh, yeah.
We'll be in December, it'll be 40 degrees.
Yeah, no, there will be, for sure, there will be days where we hit like mid 40s, like low 40s. I've always I just think the seasons have shifted, and I just don't even, and I'm not saying like we have to change even though I want to change the calendar.
I knew we were going to that.
This Friday,
I knew it.
This Friday, we're going to talk about it because we're going to remind people about the clocks. I'm not saying we need to like change it up, but to me, like winter is January, February.
It doesn't seem to start in December anymore. It really doesn't.
No, I think it's January, February. Peter's out in March, and then Pennsylvania's crazy to begin with. Like when you talk about seasons and just the weather changes and everything else. But I really believe I think we're in fall now. Like to me, I know the leaves have started.
But it just showed up.
Yeah, right. Like this, we've only been in fall for like a week.
What was our last? A week ago Monday, 9 days ago, I sat at a JV football game that kicked off at 6 o'clock, so it was night.
Yeah.
And I sat in a T-shirt until halftime.
Yeah.
That's how warm it was.
Yeah.
And then at halftime, I put on a hoodie.
Yeah.
But that's not how it's supposed to be late October, November.
No, it isn't.
But you're right. We end up now getting more snow in March than we do in December.
Way more. Now, last year was funky. We had the big storm. When was the big one last year before Christmas?
I don't remember.
You don't remember that? That was nuts. You don't remember that at all.
I don't think
we had the huge snowfall. It was like a record snowfall.
Was it gone before Christmas?
Yes, I believe so. You don't remember this?
I remember the thing that sticks out to me before last Christmas was schools were shut.
Okay.
And kids were home and the world was just so odd.
Yeah. I said that to you, was that yesterday or the day before? I said to you, I stopped in my tracks and I was like, a year ago, we shut down the schools.
I mean, we couldn't
because I had forgotten.
See, you could. For your world, it wasn't that much different because you were coaching, so basketball went the same. I couldn't go to high school basketball games.
But we weren't practicing.
Not in December.
Right. In December, it just
That's true. But even when the season started, we couldn't, we're trying to figure out, how do we watch this one online? Is this one online? But you just couldn't go to games.
Yeah.
I think I got to 2 because of random, these people got 2 tickets. They're not there.
Yeah.
So it was a weird winter.
I told you this was funny. But I told you about the middle school girls basketball game that I went to.
Yes.
And it was packed. And it was like, it is, you can just see people are so happy to be out. And you can just see the normalcy, even something as simple as a middle school girls basketball game just thrilled people.
Well,
it's I don't even know the word
We talked about how busy Halloween was the other day.
Yeah.
And we didn't know if it was warm weather, Sunday night, or just people getting out. But there are lots of people in our community that we talk to that, we ran out of candy. We ran out of candy.
Yeah.
We've never given this much candy before. So, yes, it will be interesting to see through the winter, even with, the COVID numbers and COVID fears. And you still, I don't know if you're I've run into people who've got it for the first time.
Yeah.
And I just talked to a friend of mine who's a client who has it now.
Yep.
And so it's obviously still there.
Right.
But are we going to have even bigger crowds for basketball and wrestling? Because all these people who are kind of fans who like to go, who aren't diehards, but didn't get to go last year.
Right.
So now they're like, God, I haven't been to a wrestling match. I haven't been to a basketball game. It's been 2 years. I think, when do they start? I'm going to go.
Right.
I think crowds will be bigger.
I completely agree with that. I'm going to make you guess. First snowfall here at NorthcentralPa.com in CPA Media at our office building.
Oh, geez.
When's it going to be? Don't think too hard.
I don't think it'll be in November. I can't believe it. You're talking about like just one flake?
Just like, let's say the ground needs to be white.
The ground needs to be white.
The ground needs to, it doesn't have to be an inch.
I think it'll happen in December. Okay. Maybe like.
I'm writing it down. So.
You want an actual date?
I want an actual date, yeah. I'm going
the
December. 12th. I was literally going to say December 12th. Because it's my sister's birthday. I was going to say December 12th.
I was going to say December 7th because it is a day that will live in infamy.
You can keep December 12th because now I can complain if you win.
And you'll go December 13th like it's The Price is Right and you'll win everyone
I'm not
above
like that. So since you went early December, I'm going to switch it up. I'm going to go for a white Christmas. I'm going to say December 22nd.
We're allowed to both pick the 12th. We're a team.
I'm going to say December 22nd. Oh, now we're a team?
Yeah, we're a team.
Right. Now we're a team. Speaking of teams, the Atlanta Braves, they finished off their improbable season. They are the World Series champions.
I'd said this to you. The thing that really surprised me that I didn't know last night, and the Braves organization's been around forever. They were the Boston Braves, they were the Milwaukee Braves, and they were Atlanta Braves. They've been around for like 100 years, and this is the 4th that they've won. And it is...
Can you imagine if we were going to talk about the Dallas Cowboys winning a Super Bowl and then I just started talking?
Sorry.
I'm just kidding.
I was giving a historical reference.
It was a good historical reference. I'm completely messing with you. You gave me the history though, because I don't know before Atlanta. I don't know the history.
They were in Milwaukee. And
I knew they were in Milwaukee. But
there were two Boston teams because way back then when everyone lived on the East Coast, there was the Boston Braves and the Boston Red Sox, and then the Red Sox were the big dogs
at the same time.
Mm-hmm. In the early 1900s.
Okay.
So then they moved west to Milwaukee because America was shifting westward, and then they were in Milwaukee for a while, and then they went to Atlanta and they've been. But I don't know if it was neat for them. They won one World Series as the Boston Braves. They had won one World Series as the Milwaukee Braves, and they had won in '95 as the Atlanta Braves. Okay. So this was the 4th one. But it just seems, and I know we talked about it mathematically, there's like 30 teams.
Right.
So mathematically speaking, you should win 3 World Series every 90 years if it was a fair rotation. So 4 in 100 years, they're kind of right there on pace.
Sure.
But they were so good for a while, it just seems like you should win more than that. But anyway, they are the 3rd team to ever have a losing record at the All-Star break and still win the World Series.
Yeah. There were a lot of things that happened, like the Acuna injury, obviously. They made all the trades for the outfield. And then on top of it, like when we would come in and we were having conversations about the Phillies. and it would be like the Phillies catching the Mets. I mean, so it kind of hid like the Braves. So it wasn't one of those cases where like All-Star break, they're making a run and everyone's like, oh, look at the Braves, look at the Braves. For like a month and a half, it was like, oh, can the Phillies catch the Mets and everything else? And then all of a sudden, like it's the end of August and like the Braves are in the playoffs. And so it was even like you had like a shorter comprehension time of like what was happening.
And what's his name? And I can't think of his name, the lefty who in the NLCS was a superstar. They picked him up from Cleveland in August. He was hurt.
Yeah.
And they knew like he's not playing for a month, but we still traded for him. And because we think when he gets healthy, he will be a guy who can be a difference maker for us. So, and whenever those things work out, you look like geniuses. They're like, why did everyone trade for him? Well, because he was going to be out a month. And at that time, they didn't even know if they were going to make the playoffs. Because as you said, it's easy if you're way out in front and you're like, well, we have time to get healthy. They had to win in the meantime. So it is a neat story. They're an underachiever. And it's one of the things that makes baseball different is you can get hot. It's a little bit like golf. You know, the greatest golfer in the world doesn't always win the Masters.
Right.
You have to be hot for 96 holes. And that's how 92 holes. Sorry. 18, 18, 92 holes. No, it's not even 92 holes. No, it's 18. It's 72 holes. What am I talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, because 36 and 36 and 36, 72.
Right.
But so that's why you can have a guy who has a very lackluster year, but he wins the U.S. Open because he got hot at the right time. And the Braves certainly got hot at the right time. And, you know, there were parts of the season where the Yankees couldn't lose.
Right.
And then there were parts of the season that the Yankees couldn't win. And that's kind of the way baseball works more than a lot of other sports. You don't see championship football teams go through like month-long slumps. And you don't see championship NBA teams go through month-long slumps.
Right.
It can happen in baseball where they greatly underachieved for a while, and the Braves did until August. And then they got really hot and they carried it through. It was fun.
There's something very different about Atlanta too, where like they're a big market, right? Like I'm not saying they're like a middle of the road, like underfunded baseball team. Like I'm not saying that, but they are not the Yankees and they are not the Dodgers. And they're not like the, I don't want to throw like the Chicago teams in there, stuff like that. But my point being is like, they are not one of like the top 4 or 5 spending teams in the major league baseball. So
well, the city itself has this, I don't say underachieving, but the Falcons never get it done. The Falcons had the Super Bowl with a 37-point lead and blew it or whatever it was, where they up 25. The Braves were the best team in baseball for a decade. They won one time. That Atlanta's got this reputation of, you know, the Atlanta Hawks have, where they've been really good or where they were Dominique Wilkins, the Atlanta Hawks have always been seen as an underachieving NBA franchise. And that's kind of the whole city's MO. And now, you know, the Braves break through. You've got the Georgia Bulldogs, who are the #1 team in the country in everybody's poll. So it's kind of, maybe this is, you have to feel happy for them a little bit. Yeah. And the irony that they moved the All-Star game away because of the voting stuff. And so they moved the All-Star game to Colorado. It was supposed to be in Atlanta. And then all of a sudden, it comes back and they win the World Series. But wherever you are on that topic. But it is, it's interesting. It's interesting. I've been in Atlanta. I've never stayed over. I flew in, worked, and left the same day. So I've been in Atlanta, but I've never spent a night in Atlanta. But you have to be happy for them, even though I don't know anyone from there.
I'm very happy for them. Anything else before we head out today?
Should there be anything? Oh, Aaron Rodgers, COVID.
Oh, yeah. Forgot about that. He's not going to play against the Chiefs.
It was Thursday. It was tomorrow, wasn't it?
Yeah. He's not going to play against the Chiefs.
So he can't play.
How about this? The NBA, because it's about COVID and like protocol, they just came out and told their players if they test positive for COVID, they have 2 options. They can wait 10 days and then play again, or they can get back-to-back negative tests 24 hours apart. But if you test positive, your 10 days starts over again. So let's play just like if you were an NBA player, if you know anybody that had to, like, if we instituted that policy here, what would be your, would you just wait the 10 days?
This is what I think they're going to do with that. And that's the first I've heard it. I think it's going to be an organizational decision based on who's healthy, who's not healthy, how the guy feels. But like, if all of a sudden if you have a rash of injuries and you really need the guy, you're like, listen, this is what we're going to do. You're going to double test. If you test, we got to go sign somebody. Either you're going to play or we got to sign somebody. Or if everybody on the roster is healthy and everything's rolling right along, they're going to say, hey, it's a long season. We'll save some wear and tear on you. And just take your 10 days. That's what I think is going to happen.
I think players are going to test themselves. And then after if they get 1 or 2 negatives, then they will go to the NBA and they'll be
I hadn't thought about that.
And they'll be like, I'll do the double test.
That's absolutely what they'll do.
I think that's what they'll do. I think. I don't know the exact protocols, obviously, but because they can't stop you from getting your own COVID.
No,
test.
and you test at home. It's like the home pregnancy test.
But this goes back to the insanity of it all. Is like, let's say I test positive, and then 2 days later I test myself and I'm positive, but the 10 days doesn't start over because it's not the NBA's.
Because nobody knows.
It's not the NBA's test.
Again, it looks good. It looks like the NBA's trying, and it's
bonkers. Did you hear Bill Maher go off on masking mandates and stuff?
No.
Went off on them. Was very just like, it's ridiculous. Get rid of the masks. It was very, I wasn't shocked that he said it. I was shocked at how passionate and how sure he was. Because he's a very
his shtick.
But he's a very forward type of anything. He is not afraid to give a conservative viewpoint, but usually when he gives it, it's because he's upset about something on the other side. Like, he doesn't just like dive all in. It's kind of like, this is garbage. It should, like, we don't need to lean this far over. He was like, basically Bill Maher said, if you are walking by yourself with a mask on, you are an idiot. And I'm not like exaggerating that at all.
Well,
that is what Bill Maher said.
As we get closer and closer, people will be walking with masks on because it keeps your face warm.
It keeps your face warm, yes.
Yeah, I get.
He lives in California.
Well, so that's true. He doesn't have to worry about that.
Yes.
Have you done that? Have you had, in the time when you had mask on, have you been walking like by yourself with a mask and then just thought, oh my gosh, I totally forgot my mask on. People think I'm an idiot.
So when I first like 6-8 months ago, yes, I caught myself doing that. Recently, I very rarely forget to take my mask off.
There were times through this whole thing that I was driving with my mask on,
and
then I went through and I was like, oh my gosh, I got my mask on. What is wrong with me?
Yeah.
And then now I'm thinking, I wonder how many people drove by and were like, what the heck is Mark doing? He's in his car by himself.
Because it didn't even bother
Because it's like wearing glasses.
Yeah.
There's lots of times you have your glasses on and you just forget you have glasses on.
One of the arguments that I tended to agree with, because I thought he was a little harsh. What do you care? It's like, what if someone has an earring in? If someone has what do you care if they've got a mask on their face? The one part that I thought he kind of nailed, and he had a specialist on with him. There's other diseases, there's other colds, there's other things. So to just kind of rid yourself of any natural immunity of any disease, cold, flu, anything like that, he goes, it's just not healthy. And the lady said, like, you are correct, the specialist. She was like, essentially.
Well, back to the COVID. He's not having a specialist on that disagrees with him.
Who, Bill Maher?
Yeah.
He has people on that. He had Sean Spicer on as his first
He'll have
guest.
political people on because he gets good banter. If he's going out on a limb and saying, like, this is stupid and this is my take on it.
You think he knew ahead of time?
He knew very well that
I won't disagree with you on that. However, she is still a specialist, and she was like, he's not wrong. Like,
but see, don't you think that last year there was less cold and flu going around because everyone had masks on and there's plexiglass and grocery stores?
And I think just like anything else, there's positives and negatives to that.
And that's fair.
I think the positives probably, in that case, the positives probably outweigh the negatives in the short term. But the specialist's whole point, like long term, like if 2 years, 3 years into this now, she essentially
are we going to have a weaker society?
She essentially said, she's like, if you have not had a common cold in 3 years, the 4th year, you're going to be hurting. Like, because when you finally do get it, like, it's just going to be worse. It just is. And so, like, again, the goal is, you never want to get the flu. Like, you never want to get the common cold.
You need to get it.
But her whole thing is, like, every once in a while, her exact words at one point were, every once in a while, your body's got to get kicked in the nuts. And you don't want it to kill you. But she's like, at some point, you got to keel over every so often. That was her.
I almost
her words.
Keeled over listening to that.
Her words, not mine.
No, it is and I've often wondered that too, because you see, as the stomach bug rips through the house and someone misses it.
Right.
And I'm always like, did that person really miss it? Or is that person like lined up right now in their body system that they got it and it didn't affect them?
That's a good question.
And that's why, you might get it worse than them. You both get it, but maybe somebody's puking their guts out and somebody just feels like crap and lays around on the couch and someone's totally unaffected.
Yeah. With
the cold and with all those things. So that is true. I wonder how many people get it.
Yeah.
But your body's more immune to it than their body or my body. Or whatever.
It's amazing how much we've normalized the whole experience, because I told you recently I went to Young Frankenstein. I wore my mask in, I sat down, and once I sat down, I took my mask off. I was one of the only people in the theater that took their mask off. I think that I counted 2 other people. Now,
so you're that person.
Now
3 out of 150.
Now I couldn't see. I didn't. It's not like I turned around and was like counting. But I saw 2 other people that had taken their mask off and everything else. So that was like my one experience. The very next night, I went to a middle school basketball game, and like 3 people had a mask on. And just that juxtaposition of like,
right.
So it is, it's just kind of a reminder of how very much it's still around. These questions are still very on point. Like, they're not old topics. Like, it is something where you walk into one building and it is one way, you walk into another one. It has not gone away. I think we've just normalized it.
Yeah. Yeah. And
I had those 2 experiences within 24 hours of each other and never thought twice of it until talking to you just now.
Yeah. No, the winter's going to be interesting again.
Yeah.
It's going to be very interesting.
It will be. Anything else? Do you feel, can I bring it up? Is it going to bother you if I bring it up? How was your first full day of 50?
My back hurts more for some reason.
No, it does not.
I don't know why. I haven't.
Get out of here.
It does.
Now you're just playing.
No, I'm not.
You're just serious. Playing it up for the show.
I really don't feel all that different today. It's just weird. It is. I just emotionally am not 50.
Yeah.
I'm not. My mind's like, when I have conversations with people, I'm not.
Can I?
I mean, I'm wise like a 50-year-old. I am just.
We just had the comment of the century, if you're ready
it.
for it. Jeff, Mark, hi. Peter North here, old adult film star. I was at Game 5 of the World Series, huge Braves fan. Grand Slam was awesome. Thanks, Peter North.
Adult film star? I was at Game 5 of the World Series.
Says he was at Game 5 of the World Series.
Okay. No, wait.
Thanks, Peter.
Wait. Game 5, they lost.
Correct. That doesn't mean he couldn't have been there.
Wait, put that up again?
It doesn't mean he could. You just want to read adult film star again.
I was at Game 5 of the World Series, huge Braves fan. Grand Slam was awesome. Didn't they give up a Grand Slam?
No, in Game 5, they led off. I think it was first inning. They led off, had a Grand Slam. They went up 4-0 in Game 5.
Oh, and then it fell apart.
At the beginning of Game 5, it was like, this is destiny.
Okay.
Like, this is happening.
Okay. Yeah. I was going to say, why would it be awesome? You're right. Yeah. They did. They jumped out and then gave it up.
All right. Thanks, Peter. Let's see. Joe said, yes, the big snow was December 16th and 17th. Williamsport got 2 feet of snow. You don't remember this at all.
I don't think I do.
Oh, my gosh. You couldn't get a plow truck. It was like impossible.
Huh.
You don't remember that?
There's a part of me that vaguely remembers, is it going to stick around for Christmas?
It was literally 2 feet of snow. And you have like no recollection of this.
I don't. You know what I did last winter?
No, you probably don't remember.
Nothing. I did nothing. There was nothing to do.
Okay. Heather said real quick, we'll shout out Montoursville students, helped all over the county. I had one at my polling place and he was fantastic. So shout out to Montoursville
They did have
students.
I don't know how there's some club that they're in,
Okay.
some nerd club that they got, because one of our basketball players, he thought he was going to be stationed at Lycoming College. Is there a polling place at Lycoming College?
Okay.
I know there were 3 at my precinct, but they get sent out all over the county.
Yeah.
Because I said, how did you get Williamsport? He goes, there's just we're anywhere in the county where they need help. So
nice.
Yeah, I don't know how they get the gig, but they do. But they got to be there at 6 o'clock in the morning. So I'm not sure that was something.
Nice.
But they got to miss school. So there's pros and cons.
There you go. Huge shout out to them. And then the last one, Joe said, yogurt greater than yoga.
Yogurt. I hate yogurt.
Oh,
especially
no.
with strawberries.
You are more picky than you realize.
No, that was a quote from Spaceballs.
Oh, really?
Remember yogurt? I hate yogurt.
No, I don't remember this at all.
Yeah, because the guy, he was yogurt. He wasn't Yoda. He was yogurt. Don't you remember that?
Oh, I
Mel
do
Brooks.
not remember that.
Oh, yeah. You need to watch
all.
Spaceballs again. No, I love yogurt.
Okay.
I've loved yogurt. And what's funny is strawberry is probably the most, and strawberry would be like my 10th yogurt that I would pick because it's just so it's just basic. Yeah. It's like going to like the ice cream store. They have 700 flavors and picking chocolate.
Yeah. I don't like the Greek yogurt, and then I hate you have to mix it up. Like fruit on the bottom.
See, you're young. Fruit on the bottom. And fruit on the bottom was it. Blueberry, mixed berry.
Greek and fruit on the bottom. I'm out.
Raspberry, but now don't get me wrong. I'm good with the already mixed Yoplait.
Yeah.
Those are delicious.
Yes.
When I was a kid, Dannon fruit on the bottom was it.
I'm out on it. Pop Culture Thursday tomorrow, Friday. We're gonna hash out the calendar. We're gonna figure this out.
You're
for when you're president and I become the timekeeper in chief, and you're gonna let me sort out the calendar.
So my 3 campaign things would be Halloween gets moved up a month.
Okay.
There's a federal holiday the day after the Super Bowl.
Okay.
And we're adding a 13th month to the calendar. That's my platform.
Yes. I'm telling you,
I'm not in on the 13th.
You will be. I'm going to change your mind on Friday. You will be amazed at how many people are on board with the 13-month calendar.
Okay. You know who's not on board with it?
You.
Everyone who has a birthday on November 30th, who then will never celebrate their birthday again.
Why?
Because there's not going to be any more November 30th.
Yeah, but you still have your day of the year. So if your let's say January 1st is day 1, your birthday would now just be day 232 or day 3, wherever that falls onto the calendar. See,
that sounds so bad science fiction-ish.
Why?
When's your birthday? It's 187.
Right, but 187 will have a date. We just don't know. It's 28, 28. So whatever that day falls onto, it's the same day. We've just changed the name. Your birthday is still the same.
But you're going to make that select group of people change their birthday. It's going to go from November 30th to December 8th or whatever.
I'm changing the title of it. Their birthday is this. It's the same day. You're attached to the name.
It's the same day if you count from the beginning.
Birthday, the easiest way to explain this, if your birthday is on, let's say, January 30, is there 31 days in January?
Yes, there are.
Let's say there's
We've gone over this.
Let's say your birthday
September.
Let me know when you're ready.
And November.
January 31st is your birthday. Mark Messina's birthday is on January 31st for argument's sake. Okay? That's day 31. So when you readjust the calendar, there's 28 days in January. There's 28 days in February. So 28 plus 3 is 31. Your birthday is February 3rd.
Correct.
Okay.
So now, not only, unless your birthday is in the first 28 days of January, you now get a new birthday. Because the people who were February 3rd are now February 6th.
Sure.
So you've screwed. No one.
Hold on.
No, your anniversaries are wrong.
Correct.
Your birthdays are wrong.
Correct.
There would be an entire generation of people who would hate this.
Are there people that are so simple that they're attached to the name and not the actual day of their birth?
My birthday is November 2nd.
I don't care.
If all of a sudden you start telling me it's November 18th, but it's the same, I'll tell you you're wrong.
See,
it's not the same.
That's where you're wrong, because like I'm not attached to May 16th. I'm attached to the day itself. Call it whatever you want. I just know that day around the earth, like that's my thing. Or sorry, around the sun, that's my day.
So May 16th doesn't have a special ring to you.
May 16th?
Yes.
That's different for me because it's my mom's birthday as well. So,
okay.
But the point I'm making though is it's not the fact that it's called May 16th. What's special about it to me is that I share it with my mother.
But that's
so you pick what you call it. I don't care.
May 16th is a special day to you. And if we come in all of a sudden,
it's not. It just happens to be called May 16th. That's coincidence that it's called May 16th.
That's the stupidest thing I ever heard.
It's not.
If you come up to November 2nd is a special day for me because for 50 years it's been my birthday.
If Jimmy turned 18 and he came up to you and he said, "Dad, I want to change my name to like Hector Williams," would you love Jimmy any more or less? No, because you don't love the name.
In that moment, I would love him a lot less. In that moment, yes.
Because you don't love him, you love the person. Real quick, Linda. If you go to NorthcentralPa.com, we actually have an article that has all the results for every county, and you including Jersey Shore School Board, 1 or 2 clicks away. And NorthcentralPa.com.
I hope you voted, Linda. Your missing vote might have cost someone.
Yes, that's what we've learned from today. Vicky, who is paying to change all birth certificates and driver license?
I like Vicky.
I have a solution for this.
Oh, God.
And that's why Vicky's going to tune in on Friday.
Let me just tell Vicky.
Vicky's going to tune in on Friday to learn about the 13-month calendar.
Vicky, I don't mean to be a spoiler alert. No. Jeff's solution is going to be stupid. Just because he has a solution doesn't mean it's going to be good.
Yes. Oh, here's a benefit. You would love this. Joe says, what a great excuse if you forgot your anniversary. They changed the day and calendar. All of a sudden now, people are really excited about it.
He's on to something there.
All of a sudden, people are really excited about it.
It's not because they like the calendar. It's they have the get out of jail free card.
Yes.
That comes along with it.
Yes. The 13th month calendar is gaining steam. I'm telling you.
No, it's not
a real thing.
It's not.
It is. Why? This is the funny part about it.
Because I will never have an attachment to November 22nd like I do to November 2nd. For 50 years, November 2nd has been my birthday. And when you come in and say, "Oh, now it's different,"
so the rest of us,
going to be different.
So the rest of us who don't have an attachment,
everyone
we've got to
has
cater.
An attachment.
Now we have to cater to you because your birthday won't fall on the day.
Everyone has an attachment to.
It must be so difficult to have to memorize a different day. I'm so sorry that after 50 years,
for all your kids, for all your friends, for all. You don't have friends who you oddly remember their birthday from 100 years ago?
No, it's called Facebook. No one remembers birthdays.
Oh my God, I remember all kinds of them.
Yeah, you're 50. That's why. Didn't we just get
what is that supposed to mean?
What it means is we've been talking about how the political system is too old and like but now like with this, it's like, well, I'm 50 and I don't want to change the day. And like that's what you sound like. Like, oh, why would I have a different day? Like my birthday's November 20, and like that's
what I'm saying is there are going to be lots of people who are against your stupid plan, and I'm one of them. That's what I'm saying. So here, this is what I'm doing. I'm striking it from my campaign platform, and I'm back to earlier Halloween and Super Bowl holiday. And that's what I'm running on.
I can't even present it. Like I don't even get to present.
Yeah, I'm excited to. I really am excited.
All right, let me present the idea on Friday and we'll see it. Thank you guys for watching the Midday Show. Thank you to all of our sponsors, and be sure to go to NorthcentralPa.com for all of your local news. Again, I keep saying it, but we're excited. Podcast coming soon. Holiday countdown coming back soon. We have an old sponsor that's joining us again. So a lot of things coming down the pipe for you guys that are with us every day, and we are very, very excited for it.
Yes.
Was that good?
It was very good.
All right, thank you. I'm Jeff Everett. He's Mark Messina. Thanks for watching the Midday Show.
We'll see ya.